Hello there. I have just finished shaving and I've cut myself, so if I start bleeding through this, I apologize. It's amazing, you get good at things and then suddenly you forget that being good at things requires concentration. Anyway, I've been talking a lot this past week, about role models. It's been an interesting debate. I will admit to you that I have not always felt role models important. I've not always felt that people who catch the public's eye should be role models, because I was an idiot. Here's the truth, and I was reminded of this in my early career as an NBA player. It doesn't matter what you or I think about role models. It doesn't matter whether we think Rashford or LeBron or anybody else should be a role model or not. It doesn't matter whether we think politicians should be role models or not. It doesn't matter if we only think mums and dads, carers, should be role models. It's not relevant what we think. Even people who might be saddled with the title of role model, it's not up to you. There are no choices here for people who would be role models, except whether to be a good or a bad role model, a positive or a negative role model, because all it takes is one person. My first year in the NBA was with Cleveland. I was terrible. People will remind you I was mostly terrible, but I was terrible in Cleveland. Cleveland was terrible. And in the early season, when I was starting, shows you how terrible they were, I would wander around the mall where I was essentially living in the hotel right next to the arena. And I would wander around that mall and nobody would talk to me, nobody would care. We were so bad that nobody cared. And so I thought I was a normal person. And then this black lady kind of started to jog towards me. And behind her, I could see she was dragging her son, who wanted no part of this. And she handed me a napkin to sign. It's a napkin from Panera Bread. It still had mayonnaise on it. I signed it. I just happened to have a pen with me. And I signed it. And instead of handing it to her, I reached behind her and I first shook the hand of this little boy who wanted no part of me. And I handed him the napkin. And then I toddled off. I'm like, job done. And for some reason, a few steps passed and I just looked back, and this woman was now trying to trundle back through the crowd, and she couldn't because her son was rooted to the ground, staring at the hand that I had just shaken as if he'd been touched by God, grasping this napkin covered in mayonnaise with my signature now on it as if it was a precious thing. And I suddenly realized in that moment, wow, I'm terrible. I'm a bad basketball player for a bad basketball team. Very few people around here seem to care, but he cared. I'm a role model, whether I like it or not. This is what we have to remember, all of us. It's not if. It's whether you decide to be a good or a bad role model. I got a letter from that young man a few years ago. He's a psychologist now. He followed my career through the NBA. Watched how I'd become a psychologist, and now he's one too. A terrible basketball player on a terrible team. That impact. Some of you don't realize that you are giants. You are giants amongst the people that you work with. They revere your skills or your temperament or something about you. And that's the other part. Maybe it's just one element of you that people admire. But that will mean that people look at you and you're a role model. I'll link to some of the articles that I wrote with this. But it's not if. It's just how good. How good do you want to be?